In this video, we are going to see wise men from the east come to honor Jesus and the fulfilled prophecy of Micha. We will see here Gospel of Matthew chapter 2 from verse 1 to 13. When we read verse 1 and 2, now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and we have come to worship him. Verse 1 says, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem. We can see about Bethlehem. Bethlehem was the ancestral home of David, the great king of Israel and founder of the royal dynasty. However, it was not a large or significant town. Bethlehem was quite a little town 6 miles to the south of Jerusalem. In the olden days, it had been called Ephrath or Ephrathah. The Bible first mentions Bethlehem as the burial place of Rachel, the wife of Jacob. Then Bethlehem was the home of Jesse, David's father. The prophet Samuel anointed David as king of Israel in Bethlehem. The book of Ruth is set in Bethlehem, where Ruth and Naomi returned after the death of Naomi's husband and sons. The Gospels of Matthew and Luke describe Bethlehem as the birthplace of Jesus. The name Bethlehem comes from the Canaanite word Beth, which means house or temple. The Hebrew Bible also calls it Bethlehem, Judah. The New Testament calls it the city of David. When we see about King Herod, he was indeed great ruler, builder, administrator, and great in politics and cruelty. Now once again we can see the verse 1. When Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east came to Jerusalem. Wise man in the ancient Greek is Magi. They were not kings, but wise men, which means they were astronomers. There were not only three, but probably a great company. They seem to have come not on the birth night, but several months later. Wise men expected to find answers in Jerusalem. They expected that the leaders and people of this capital city of the Jews would be more interested than they were. They had asked, where is he who had been born the King of the Jews? They traveled this great distance to honor a king. They replied, Jews, Jews. Who cared for Jews? Even in those days, Jews were the subject of contempt, for they had aforetime been carried captive into the east. Although they are the very aristocracy of God, his chosen people, yet the nation looked down upon the Jews. The wise man said them, for we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. This was also in fulfillment of Numbers 24:17. A star shall come out of Jacob, a scepter shall rise out of Israel. This was widely regarded by ancient Jewish scholars as a messianic prediction. Matthew chapter 2 verse 3. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Now we can see here why Herod was troubled that heard about the birth of Jesus. Because Herod was constantly on guard against threats to his rule, especially from his own family. He assassinated many family members whom he suspected of disloyalty. When Herod was troubled, why? All the Jerusalem was troubled with him, because Herod was so cruel. People thought that what sort of paranoid outburst might come from Herod upon hearing of a rival king being born. Verse 4 and 5 says, And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, In Bethlehem of Judea. For thus it is written by the prophet. Verse 6 says, And thou, Bethlehem, the land of Judah, art not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. In verse 4, Herod gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together because scribes are teachers of the law. They were very experts in the Old Testament. They quoted Micha 5:2. It says, But thou, Bethlehem, Ephrathah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me that is to be the ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting. From this passage in Mega, they understood not only that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem, but also that he would be a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. Verse 7 and 8 says, Then Herod, when he had privately called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, Go and search diligently for the young child. And when ye have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also. Herod climbed to the wise men that he desires to worship Jesus when he really wanted to kill him. But the wise men never promised to return to Herod. Verse 9 to 12 it says, When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. The word came and stood, and can mean only that the star itself moved to guide the wise men. It was common, especially in the East, that one would never appear before royalty or a person of importance without bringing gifts. Considering whose these wise men believed the young child to be, it is not surprising that they gave such lavish gifts. There were three gifts have been mentioned in the Bible: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Gold speaks of royalty, frankincense speaks of divinity, and myrrh speaks of his death. Yet it is almost certain that the wise men did this unawares. They simply wanted to honor the King of the Jews. It is more important to note that they were worshipped the child Jesus than their precious gifts given by them. It must have been a curious sight to see these impressive dignitaries to worship and bowing before a young child. We have learned from this chapters that Herod had a good Bible study about the birthplace of the Messiah, but it did him no good. When the earthly king dabbles in theology, it bodes no good to truth. Herod among the priests and scribes is Herod still. Someone may be well instructed in their Bibles and yet be all the worse for what they have discovered. The chief priests and the scribes, the teachers of the laws, fail to worship the true God. But the wise men shout out Jesus and worship him even at great cost. how they found Jesus. They were not satisfied with looking at the star and admiring it. They did something about the star and set out and followed it. When they arrived at the destination, the star led them to. They entered in. When they entered in, they worshipped. They sensed an urgency to worship Him now and not wait until later. When they worshipped, it was to give something, not empty-handed adoration. The scribes and the chief priests were losers, even though they understood not only that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem, but also that he would be a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel from the passage of Micha. Sometimes we may be experts in teaching the Bible, but if we fail to accept the realities, that the truth, we will be a losers. In our life, when learning the Bible, we have to obey it, or else we would be a losers like what the scribes and the priest had been lost.